My beloved, there comes a moment in each of our lives when we must ask ourselves, what do I truly believe? Do I believe in lack, or do I believe in the God who feeds the sparrow and clothes the lilies? Tithing, my dear, is not about coins dropped in a collection plate. It is about commitment. It is about trust. It is about thanksgiving. You see, when you give the first tenth of what God has given to you, there is a holy sound in the soul of a person who trusts God. It is not loud like thunder, nor sharp like the clash of swords. No, it is quiet, tender, like the hush of dawn touching the edge of the earth. It is the still, unwavering voice that says, God, I trust you, even with this, especially with this. You see, my dear, trust is not built in ease. It is forged in the furnace. It blooms not in the bounty, but in the barren field. And there is perhaps no clearer, no more deliberate act of trust than the tithe. The tithe, that ancient and divine offering, is not a bribe, not a payment. It is a proclamation, a declaration from a trembling soul that says, though I may not see how, I believe you will provide. I've seen men who had much give little, and I've seen women who had little give all. And each time, when given from the wellspring of faith and not the pressure of guilt, God met them at the intersection of hope and obedience. Now let me tell you something. True faith does not ask what's left after I pay the world. No, faith says, here, Lord, take the first because you are first. Oh, child, it takes courage to tithe. Real spirit-shaking courage. Because when the bills stack like bricks and the cupboards echo like tombs and the world around you whispers, hold tight, you can't afford to give, the soul must rise and answer back, but I cannot afford not. Tithing is trust that wears no disguise. It's the widow with her 2 copper coins. It's the farmer sowing seed in dry ground, believing the rains will come. It's you, dear heart, handing over the first fruits, not because you have excess, but because you believe the harvest is on its way. Yes, trust is born in the offering. It is not born in plenty. It is born in the moment you stretch out your hand and say, here, God, I give to you before I give to anything else. When you tithe, you place your faith in the eternal, not the temporary. You tell your bank account, you are not my Savior. You tell your job, you are not my Jehovah. You tell your fear, you do not rule me. The tithe is not about numbers. It is about narrative. It tells the story of who your heart lives. It tells the story of who you believe your provider truly is. And don't you know, God has never asked us for what he hasn't first given. You breathe because he gave breath. You walk because he gave strength. You rise in the morning, not because your alarm clock commands it, but because his mercy renews with the sun. So when he says, return to me a tenth, he is not taking. He is teaching. He is training your soul to trust. He is building a bridge from your hands to his heart. Sometimes trust looks like praising him before the breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like weeping as you give. Sometimes it's the quiet voice that says, I don't know how I'll make it, but I believe that he will. Let me speak to your soul now, the part of you that's grown weary in the wait, the part of you that wonders if God sees your sacrifice. He does. Oh, yes, he does. Not one offering has gone unnoticed. Not one act of obedience has been ignored. Your tithe, no matter how small in the eyes of the world, is mighty in the hand of God. It carries your name, it carries your faith, it carries your trust. And I tell you, child, God honors trust. He rewards the open hand. He pours into the cup that was first lifted to him. So don't you dare let fear rule your giving. Don't you dare let the whispers of doubt make you clutch what God called you to release, because trust is not built in the comfort zone. Trust is built in the leap, in the letting go, Yes, beloved, when you tithe, you are preaching a sermon louder than any pulpit. You are saying, I have seen the hand of God in my life. I know what he has done. And I know he's not finished yet. Tithing is a love letter to the giver of all good things. It's your soul singing, I trust you, God, not just with my praise, but with my provision. And when you give with trust, you make room for miracles. You open the door for heaven to meet earth. You align yourself with abundance that cannot be measured in coins or currency. So stand tall, sweet soul. Give with joy, give with courage, give with trust. Because the tithe is not about what leaves your hand. It's about what anchors your heart. And when your heart is anchored in God, you will never be truly empty. You will always have enough. Because the God you trust is a God who provides. Oh, child, there is a rhythm to righteousness, a sacred melody that plays softly beneath the noise of this world, and that melody is called gratitude. It sings low in the valley and hums sweet on the mountaintop. It dances through suffering and shouts in triumph. And wherever gratitude moves, obedience walks close beside it. You see, we do not tithe out of obligation. We tithe out of remembrance. We remember the days when we had little and God made it much. We remember the nights we cried into our pillows and still woke up clothed in mercy. We remember when the job said no, but God said, I will provide. So when we give, we do not give because we are forced. We give because we are full of thanks, full of praise. Oh yes, the tithe is the soul's thank you. It is the spiritual bouquet we lay at the feet of the one who held us together. It is the first slice of the harvest, given not grudgingly but gladly. Now don't let this world fool you. It will say to you, keep, store, hide, hoard, but the heart of the faithful says, give, share, sow, release. Because gratitude is not quiet, it is generous. Gratitude does not sit still, it serves. The tithe is gratitude turned into action. It is a whisper of worship that says, I remember who woke me this morning. I remember who kept my children safe. I remember who covered my home, who fed my soul, who loved me when I was unlovable. And when you remember rightly, obedience becomes a joy, not a chore, no, it is a choice, a daily rising up and saying, yes, Lord. Yes, with my lips. Yes, with my life. Yes, with my livelihoods. Gratitude walks hand in hand with obedience. And when you bring your tithe to God, you are walking the path of both. Now, let me tell you, obedience is not always easy. It is not always convenient. Sometimes obedience will cost you comfort. It will ask you to rise early and sacrifice freely. But oh, my darling, obedience will never leave you empty. It will never leave you ashamed. It will always bring you closer to the heart of God, because when you give him your obedience, he gives you his overflow. Do you not know that every command from God is dipped in love? That every instruction is lined with protection and every requirement wrapped in grace? When he said, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, he wasn't trying to take from you. He was trying to teach you to live with open hands and an open heart, to teach you that he is worthy of your trust, worthy of your time, and worthy of your tithe. Oh, but we forget sometimes, don't we? We forget that we are not self-made. We forget that every good thing, every check, every door, every healed body and saved child, it all came from him. And gratitude, true gratitude, pulls us back to remembrance. That's why tithing isn't just a ritual, it's a remedy. It heals the soul from pride. It humbles the heart. It reminds us that we are not the author of our blessings, God is. And isn't that a beautiful thing, that even in giving, God is blessing us still? Because when we give the tithe in obedience, he meets it with promises. He says, test me in this. See if I will not open the windows of heaven. Now, I've lived long enough, walked through storms and danced in sunshine to know that God keeps his word. When I've obeyed, not perfectly, but persistently, he has shown up. When I've given from a grateful heart, he has multiplied what I had and made a way where there was none. So let us not give like we're paying a bill. Let us give like we're praising the King. Let us bring our tithe not like it's a debt, but like it's a song of thanksgiving. Every dollar, every dime, every tenth is a lyric of love. It is our way of saying, thank you for waking me. Thank you for keeping me. Thank you for never giving up on me. And when we live in that kind of gratitude, obedience becomes our daily and not something we do out of duty, but something we offer with delight. I say to you now, let your tithe be your alleluia. Let it be your yes, Lord. Let it be the echo of your thanksgiving. For the heart that tithes in gratitude will never lack reason to be grateful. And the soul that obeys God, even when it stretches them, even when it costs them, even when it doesn't make sense, that soul shall live under an open heaven. So give. Give with joy. Give with love. Give with obedience. And watch how heaven rushes to meet your faith. Because gratitude is not silent, and obedience is never wasted. There are keys that open doors no man can shut. Invisible, spiritual keys, pass not through hands, but through hearts that have learned to trust, to obey, and to give. And among those sacred keys, there is one carved from obedience and dipped in faith. That key is called tithing. You see, child, tithing is not just about what you let go of. It is about what God is trying to get to you. It's a divine transaction, an exchange of natural for supernatural, of temporary for eternal, of little for more than enough. When you tithe, you don't just give, you position. You align yourself with heaven's order. You walk into a space where favor flows freely and grace is not rationed. Now let the world say what it will. Let critics cry foolish. Let cynics scoff and call it tradition. But we, the faithful, we know better. We've tasted the fruit of obedience. We've seen what happens when you give with open hands and a believing heart. We've felt the soft hush of God's blessings fall like rain on dry seasons. There is a promise tied to the tithe. And unlike man's words, God's promises do not crumble. He said in his holy word, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, and see if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Oh, what a mighty, marvelous thing. Windows of heaven, not cracked open, not barely nudged, but wide, flung open in holy generosity. That's the kind of God we serve, a God of overflow, of pressed down, shaken together, running over, a God who does not give stingily, but lavishes with a handful of compassion and a heart full of love. But hear me now. You must first bring before you can receive. You must first trust before you can taste. That's the divine order. Obedience unlocks outpouring. Some say, why must I give for God to bless me? And I say, he blesses you every day. The tithe is your response, not your purchase. He gives breath to your lungs, strength to your bones, wisdom to your mind. He parts seas you never saw coming. He reroutes disasters you'll never even know about. He puts angels around your children and mercy on your doorstep. So when you bring your tithe, you're not bribing God. You're building trust. You're laying bricks on a foundation of favor. You're saying, Lord, I believe your word, and I expect to see your hand. Because, yes, beloved, tithing opens doors. Not just financial doors, but doors of peace, doors of clarity, doors of provision in the midnight hour. It unlocks joy where sorrow tried to reign. It releases healing where hurt had laid claim. It commands resources to find you when lack had written your name. I've seen it. I've lived it. I've watched God take the 10th and turn it into abundance. I've watched him multiply meals, heal broken homes, restore what man said was ruined. The tithe is not magic. It is ministry. It is God saying, if you trust me with this, I'll show you what I can do with the rest. And what he does, no man can undo. What he opens, no hand can shut. What he blesses, no curse can reverse. Some folks give out of ritual, but the wise give out of revelation. They know that every seed planted in obedience becomes a tree of blessing in due time. The farmer doesn't doubt the soil. He trusts the law of sowing. And so do we. We sow in faith. We tithe in faith. And in return, God meets our needs and often blesses us far beyond them. Now, the blessing, child, is not always money. Oh no, don't be fooled by the small-minded. The blessing of God is deeper, richer, wider. It is peace that defies chaos. It is health that confounds doctors. It is favor that places you in rooms you didn't earn and at tables you were never invited to. The blessing is a job that calls you before you apply. It's a scholarship your child didn't expect. It's the diagnosis reversed, the storm calmed, the anxiety replaced with assurance. God's blessing comes wrapped in unexpected ways, and when you tithe, you unlock a door for those blessings to flow. You say to heaven, I'm ready, I'm aligned, I believe, and heaven responds with, watch what I will do. So don't let your hand close up now. Don't let fear make you clench what God meant for you to open. Because the hand that gives freely is the hand that God fills generously. Give, even when it feels risky. Give, even when it's your last loaf. Give, and watch God turn your little into more than enough. He is the God of multiplication. He is the God of provision. He is the God who takes the tithe and turns it into a testimony. And you, beloved, you are his vessel. So bring your offering, open your hand, unlock the door. For on the other side of obedience waits a blessing your soul has yet to imagine. Worship, my dear, is not confined to stained glass windows or Sunday morning hymns sung in faltering harmony. Worship is not reserved only for the well-dressed or the well-versed. Worship is breath. It is the heartbeat of a soul bowed low before a God who is high and holy. Worship is not a moment. It is a movement. It is not a sound. It is a surrender. And one of the most sacred forms of worship, the one most often overlooked yet deeply cherished by the divine, is the act of giving. The tithe. Ah, yes, the tithe is worship clothed in humility. It is thanksgiving made tangible. It is devotion measured not in words, but in willingness. Worship is when your soul says, I love you enough to trust you. Tithing is when your hands follow that love. Now, some will come with lifted hands, but closed fists. They'll sing the songs and recite the prayers, but their giving is silent. And I do not say this to shame, child, no. I say it to awaken the soul, because true worship is not only what you say, it is what you do with what you have. When you tithe, you are not simply offering a portion of your income. No, you are offering the first fruits of your heart. It is your way of saying, Lord, you reign not only in my spirit, but over my resources. Not just in my praise, but in my priorities. And what a sweet sound that is to the ears of heaven, a soul giving from reverence, not routine, a heart pouring out honor, not habit. You see, worship is where love meets reverence, and reverence becomes action. It is where belief becomes bold. Tithing then is the sacred declaration. All I have is yours. All I am is yours. And all I give to glorify you. The woman who tithes is a worshiper. The man who gives without reluctance walks in awe of the Almighty. Their offering is not just currency, it is consecration. Now let us look at the word where the ancients understood that giving was holy. Abraham gave a tithe to Melchizedek, not out of law, but out of love, because worship precedes the rule. Jacob, dreaming of angels ascending and descending, vowed to give a tenth as a sign of his worship and his wonder. And in the tabernacle, in the temple, through the prophets and through the Gospels, we see it again and again. Tithing is the song of a soul that remembers who the giver is. Oh, but don't you see? Your tithe is not about dollars and cents. It is about awe. It is about standing before the vastness of God and saying, "Who am I that you are mindful of me?" It is about bowing low with your offering, not to buy a blessing, but to bless the one who blessed you first. Because worship, true worship, is costly. It is not casual. It is not convenient. It demands something of you. And when you bring your tithe, you bring more than money. You bring honor. You bring recognition. You bring a whispered song that says, "I know you, Lord, and I love you more than I love what's in my hand." The tithe says, "My paycheck does not rule me. My fear does not bind me. My possessions do not own me. I serve the living God." And let me tell you something, beautiful child. God does not need your tithe. He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He fashioned the stars and calls them by name. But he wants your worship. He welcomes your offering. Because giving draws you closer. Because giving keeps your heart tender. Because giving says to the heavens, "I do not forget who brought me through the fire." And when you worship through your tithe, you join a chorus of saints, a mighty legacy of believers who gave, not because they had much, but because they had seen much of God. They gave when it hurt. They gave when it healed. They gave when the harvest was lean and when it was lavish. Because the worshiper does not wait for convenience. They move at the rhythm of reverence. I have seen worship in tears. I have seen it in dancing. I have seen it in stillness. But I have also seen it in giving. The single mother placing her folded envelope with trembling hands. The elder on a fixed income smiling as he gives his tenth. The child who drops their few coins into the plate and walks away radiant. That, my dear, is worship. That is beauty. That is the aroma of faith rising like incense to the heavens. And God, he inhales that offering. He smiles upon that sacrifice. He pours out blessings not just on your bank account, but on your soul. He strengthens you. He covers you. He dances over you with joy. So worship, and worship well, not just with your voice, not just with your attendance, but with your tithe, your holy, heartfelt, humble offering. Because when you tithe and worship, you're not losing something. You are giving glory. And there is no sweeter sound, no richer fragrance, no higher honor than to worship God in spirit, in truth, and yes, even in tithe. There is a rhythm to the universe, child, a sacred pattern, invisible to the naked eye, but felt deep in the soul. Give, and it shall be given. Sow, and you shall reap. Pour out, and watch heaven pour back into you. This rhythm, this holy reciprocity, is not a transaction. It is a dance, a divine exchange of trust and provision, of honor and abundance, of reverence and reward. And so it is with the tithe. It is no mere ritual. It is a key that opens the windows of heaven, a gentle invitation that calls God to step into your need with his supply. For when you tithe, child, you do not just give, you invite. You invite the presence of the Most High into the corridors of your daily living. You open the gates of your house and whisper, "Come, Lord, dwell here. Provide, preserve, protect." And God, being the generous, gentle, just one that he is, does not arrive empty-handed. No, ma'am. No, sir. He comes with blessing in both hands. He comes with grace tucked into the folds of his robe. He comes with favor that shines like sunlight after stormy days. You may ask, why does God bless the tither? Oh, child, the answer is as old as the hills and as fresh as morning dew. Because the tithe is not about money, it is about heart. It is about trust. It is about obedience wrapped in adoration. And our God is moved not by amounts, but by alignment. When your heart aligns with his will, when your giving is drenched in love and reverence, he cannot help but respond. He rains down blessings, not always in the form of coins and currency, but in joy that does not dry up, in peace that makes no sense to the world, in protection that shields you from dangers unseen. You may not always see the blessing immediately. Sometimes blessings are quiet. They come in the night while you're sleeping. They show up as strength when grief should have crushed you. They walk beside you as courage when you had every reason to quit. That too, child, is blessing. That too is God honoring the tithe. There is a verse nestled sweetly in the book of Malachi where the Lord of hosts dares his people. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, and prove me now herewith. Can you imagine that? The Creator of heaven and earth saying, test me, try me, see if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Oh, how magnificent! God, who owes us nothing, welcomes our giving and returns it with bounty. Not always how we expect, but always more than we deserve. Now I have seen this blessing for myself. I have seen lights stay on when the bills said they should not. I have seen refrigerators stay full when the paycheck was short. I have seen scholarships arrive from nowhere. I have seen health be preserved when the doctor shook his head. I have seen children raised by single mothers who tithed faithfully and wept quietly, yet their homes were filled with laughter and love. Don't let anyone fool you into thinking tithing is a burden. It is a privilege. It is not loss. It is positioning. It is standing under